Choose appropriate graphs and charts to display data. Now to do this, we're really just going to talk about different types of graph, because you've got to ask yourself two big questions. What type of information do we actually have, and what are we trying to show? Because depending on that will let you guide to what you're going to use, what type of graph. So the first one we have is a dot plot. Now a dot plot is based on numerical data, so it's kind of like having a number line, if you will, and it's for small data sets and not a large range of values. So you can see I have like 14 to 18, and then a dot plot just puts dots above the data that we have. So this allows you to see individual data. I know that there are 2 15s and 3 16s because that's how many dots are there. You can imagine if you have a lot of data points or a really wide range, then this is not going to be so great for you. The second one we're going to talk about is a stem and leaf plot. Stem and leaf plot is also numerical and good with data, small data sets, and based on individual. So much like a dot plot. But the difference is it's really good at showing distribution. So a stem and leaf plot, we have the stem and we have the leaf. So let's say that our numbers are 14, 15, 21, 21, and 32. Right? So the stem would be 1, and then I would have a 4 and a 5, right? So that's 14 and 15, 21, and there's 2 21, so I have the 1 there twice, and then 32. So this would be the stem and leaf plot for this. So again, if you had a really large data set, this would not be fun to do, but you can see the distribution. You can also see the distribution in a dot plot. So stem and leaf and a dot plot kind of go together. Next, let's look at a histogram. Histogram is also with numerical and continuous data. But the big thing about histograms is that it's a bar graph where the bars touch and we show frequency. So these are good for large sets of data. Maybe you group data together in intervals. But the big thing is that these bars show insights into groups. So if you want to look at individual data, histograms are not for you. It's more about investigating groups. A bar graph is similar to a histogram in that it's bars, but now we're dealing with categorical data. So maybe you're dealing with colors, blue, green, red. The difference is that the bars do not touch because they are categorical. Bar graphs allow us to make comparisons between categories. We can see that green is a lot higher than blue. And again, the vertical axis shows frequency just like that with a histogram. A pie chart is also known as a circle graph. Also shows categorical data similar to a bar graph. The really good thing about pie charts is that it's easy to see kind of a part to whole dealio. So you can say like this is the part compared to the whole circle graph. Because the whole thing is 100%, this is really good to say, well, we can say this is 25%, this is 27%, this is 34%, and that would be whatever is left. So we do a lot of displaying with percentages when we talk about pie charts because of the part to whole relationship. And pie charts are really good for a small number of subcategories. You can see here I have 4 subcategories. You can imagine if I had 20, that would be really confusing if you would have a circle graph with, you know, bunches and bunches and bunches of like little pieces. It kind of loses the effectiveness. So it's better with small number of subcategories. The last one we're going to talk about is a line graph. So a line graph, also sometimes known as a time series chart, shows trends over time. So when we're talking about a line graph, time is always on the x-axis. Now that time could be minutes, hours, days, months, years, millennia, doesn't really matter, but we're talking about trends over time. So maybe we're on January, February, March, April, May, and maybe we're talking about temperatures, right? So we kind of talk about temperatures and they go up and down. Who knows, right? But the line graph shows trends over time, increases, decreases, and how they're all related. We also sometimes have Maybe we have two line graphs on the same thing that allow us to compare, right? So maybe we're saying this is from 2020 and this is from 1970, and we can see how things have changed over time and in relation month to month. So again, time series chart and a line graph are the same thing to show trends over time. So depending on what you have and what you want, that's how you determine which graph to use.